Now that I have covered Nairos in one of my previous videos, I think it is about time to cover the other half of Brahmi Rebiran Harri. The interesting thing I'm seeing here is the fact that there is a lot of mirror between Nairos' skill and what ultimately Harri does for his deck. Like the Great 2 Red Line do similar things, the Strike do similar things, etc, etc.
Sure. Bunghole, continue.
But is it actually a good deck? That is exactly what I'm gonna be talking about today. So as usual, we're gonna go start off with the right line, and immediately we're gonna jump straight ahead into the grade 2 as the same reason as the Nairos one, as we have card dealer Jacqueline, where when rolled upon by grade 3 with Harri, you can Soul Blast 1, look at top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 normal units without Sentinel from among them, review them, choose one of the review card and put into hand, and put the rest of the review card into Soul and shuffle deck. This card also have additional ability where when it's called from Soul during this turn, this unit get additional 5k. So nothing too crazy on the second effect, but just like Nairos, its first skill is where it is at because it helps to build up not only just your soul but also prepare for the strike deck cost or any of the setup that you possibly will do during your turn in itself. And yeah, it is definitely very similar to Colombard in that respect, but at least one thing that would be different for sure is the grade 3, as we have Masked Magician Harri. This is the same old Harri that we come to know and love, but for those who do not remember what the skill does, essentially he has a generation break 2 where when this unit attack a Vanguard, choose up to one card from your soul, call it to Raycard Circle, and until end of turn, that unit and this unit get power additional 3k. And then Magia, when your unit strike during your turn, counter blast 1, soul charge 1, choose up to one card from your soul, call it to Raycard, and it gets additional 5k until end of turn. At the end of that turn, put that unit into your soul.
I mean, it's alright, like...
So this is where I would say Nairos has a huge edge over due to the fact that she is just a much better strider unit as compared to Harri. But I'm not saying Harri is a bad boss unit overall. His GB2 is very useful if you're actually trying not to go strike in the later part of the game, and the fact that it increased power by 3k, allowing any grade 2 and Harri attack with boost to hit a magic number as well, so this is not too bad. And the Magia strike skill is, is pretty alright, though I would say Soul Charge 1 can be quite intrusive in certain circumstances. But overall, I do like this skill, especially considering how Pale Moon has always been focusing on rushing with cards from Soul. This plays into it, especially considering it does return that unit into your soul, fulfilling the
50% of
additional skill of Harri Crest Condition where, and there's gonna be a transition to the Crest first.
They love the slow ramp.
Generation Break 2 at the end of your turn. If 2 or more of your cards were put into soul during end phase of this turn, you may draw a card. This skill is actually quite helpful, though I do wish they could get something a little bit better.
Why?
The reason I'm saying it is because of the fact that this is one of a very few instances that Harri can draw, but this draw came just a little bit too late for me, so you still have to utilize the draw engine of the Dark State in general to at least help you to get through in the earlier part of the game before you can start using this particular skill. But it is still good nonetheless. It just, you have to be very careful with how you call your regards because sometimes that might screw up your GB too. You guys might be asking, wait a minute Mac, doesn't the GB2s on the crest say 2 or more record that was put into soldering and phase? Well, that's where the supports come in, and I would say this is where Harri win out to an extent, as we can start off with one of the fan favorite Magia unit, QT Paratrooper. This unit only have one skill, which is a Magia, where when this unit is placed on record circle other than during the battle phase, if you have grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Harri in its card name, you can put a record with different name from this unit into soul, choose a card with different card name from the card you put for this card from your soul, and you may call it to Raycard Circle. At the end of that turn, you put that unit back into soul.
Yes, I like that.
So you immediately see a card that helps you to fulfill the condition of the GB2 immediately. And not only that, this technically is loopable. You see, the skill mentioned choose a card with different name from the card that put for this toy for your soul, means that you technically can put anything that is not QT Paratrooper into soul to call another QT Paratrooper to put some of the card that you may not want it on the field anymore to replace it with something that you actually use more often, with things like Shower Applause for example. So yeah, this card does have a lot of utility that can do a lot of interesting things provided your soul is built well enough. However, I do have to say the fact that you have to put a record into soul is a little bit annoying as well, as that means that you do have to commit your hand if you do not have any record on the field, which may lead into the situation where you don't have enough hand to guard in general, which is something I did encounter quite a bit during my playtesting.
You were so close to perfect.
But it is still an amazing card nonetheless, and I would say a great rework of the original. The same can't be said with one of the last cards that was revealed for Harri support, and that is Darkside Princess. The skill is good, it's just what's with the art?
Something's not right here.
As this unit has 2 skills where at the end of the battle this unit attack, you may put this unit into soul, and Generation Break 1 when this unit is put on Vanguard circle from soul, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Harri in its name, this unit get additional 10k until end of turn. But if you have 2 or more face-up cards in your G-zone, this unit get 15k instead of 10.
That's it?
Okay, there is some critique I have for this card and some praise for it. First off, I'm glad that the first skill is not Generation Break, as this allows you to actually rush early game and essentially just remove itself from the field afterward, which is a really helpful thing considering that the next turn you're going into is most likely a strike turn, so you have one of a very useful viable target for Harri's strike skill. And the power increment is not bad at all, like 10 and then 15 is actually pretty damn solid, but I wish it could hit just a little bit harder, especially considering none of the Harri strike does give additional power to any of the Rega on the field at all. I wish Darkside Princess could get just a little bit more power during the 2 or more face-up G-zone, like enough to actually improve the deck pressure by a lot.
I don't like where this is going.
It's still good though. And then we have Daifudou or Neta. For those Daifudou lovers, unfortunately this card is not compatible with Andro himself, though technically you can try. I mean, you most likely get disqualified for it, but people can dream, I guess.
Stop it. Get some help.
This unit has 2 skills where when this unit is placed on record from hand, if you have a Masked Magician Harri crest, look at top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them and put it into soul and shuffle your deck. And then when this unit is put on guard circle, you have Masked Magician Harri crest, you may soul charge 1. So the main skill for this card is the first skill, and a lot of people might say, oh, place from hand is not really a good effect, doesn't it? And I would say yes. But here's the thing, this is one of the very few very useful viable target for Jacqueline on right skill, which allow you to essentially just guarantee another search before you go into more search with the strike.
So, I believe I made myself clear.
The second skill is very heavily dependent on what build you are trying to go for. If you chose to run a lot of gun rum like Militaire does, then I would say this is useful because it helps you to generate more soul, which either help you to build more pieces on the board or actually help you to have just enough soul to do a soul blast free of gun rum without disturbing the rest of the card in your soul. Overall, another great piece for this deck to help you to fetch all the key pieces to trigger or the combos that the deck can pull off. Especially one of those cards is Flying Manticore. This unit is your usual discard strike fodder with additional skill that is a little bit unusual, as this unit can only gain the skill if your Vanguard is Harri, and it actually has a Magia skill. Generation Break 1 at the end of the battle this unit attack. If you did not call a unit from your soul during battle phase this turn, you can counter blast 1, put this unit into your soul, choose up to 1 card with different card name from this card from your soul, and call it to Vanguard circle. At the end of that turn, put that call unit into your soul. So another way for Harri to trigger his GB2 crest skill. However, this is one of those units that you have to be very careful when you play it to an extent, because this has to always be first or second attack before you start swapping cards around in soul for this card to actually work well. The reason I'm saying this is because of the fact that this skill does have a very annoying condition, and that annoying condition can cost you games if you're not being careful enough. So understanding how this card works properly is very important, which is just the other way for me to say read.
That escalated quickly.
Another aspect that I feel is a little bit annoying for this unit is the fact that it doesn't get additional power. I wish it could get a little bit more power so that Harri does have a little bit better both early game and late game, as the strike unit in this deck doesn't give any power whatsoever. The only way you can increase the power using those strikes are the crest itself.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
As we have, in my opinion, the second worst first strike of the current strike deck set group, and that is Jester, Demonic Dragon, Lunatic Dragon.
That's a very nice name.
Even though I'm calling this card worst, doesn't mean it is not good. It is good, it's just I feel it could have done just a little bit more. And this unit has a Magia skill as well, where you can turn a card from G-Zone face up, look at top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them, put it into your soul, and shuffle your deck. And choose up to 1 card from your soul, and call it to Raycard Circle. At the end of that turn, put that call unit into the soul.
That's it?
Another card that helps you to trigger Harri Crest skill, which is great. But what I really like about this card, despite it being second worst first strike, is the fact that it actually helps you to search your deck again. And this is something that I feel they do it really right with Harri, where a lot of pieces that Harri need is easily fetchable thanks to Troy, thanks to Jacqueline and Onetta. And this is just enough to actually make the deck really consistent in fetching all the pieces needed.
That doesn't sound so bad.
It's a bit of a shame that it doesn't give additional power, in all fairness.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
I'll talk about why I have this gripe as we talk about the pros and cons of the deck later, as we have to pave way for the main strike of this deck, and that is of course Dragon Masquerade Harri. This is your usual GB2 strike that need the card with the same name as a Vanguard to strike into.
Of course!
Where when this unit attack a Vanguard, counterblast 1, put 2 Raycard into soul, choose up to 2 cards with different card name from your soul, call them to Raycard Circle, and choose up to 2 of your opponent Raycards and put them into your soul. At the end of that turn, put those unit call into your soul.
I don't know.
Okay, I have to admit, when I heard that they're gonna bring back Dragon as a second strike, I was a little bit skeptical. Because if I remember from during my time in G era, Dragon Masquerade wasn't even a really good card to begin with. But they try not to screw it up like the last time and make it a lot more easier to activate and actually a lot more useful, where there is a lot less counterblast needed to be paid, the generation break is lower, and the condition in itself, even if it is not as strong as the original, is good enough in the contexture of the deck, due to the fact that a lot of cards already kind of able to put itself back to soul to begin with. So all you need is just a driver to make sure that you can put the card that is unable to go into soul to generate more attack to begin with. But as you can see here, no power is gained.
That's kind of small.
And I think it is a good segue to move into the pros and the cons of the deck, and I'm gonna start with a con first. This deck heavily relies on your rear guard presence, so if your rear guard gains a lot of power, the deck gets a lot more aggressive, and of course the strike rate. But the thing is that all of that strike doesn't really generate more power. I know Jet doesn't really generate more power as much as well, but at least for Jet you have a much more aggressive pressure because of the guard restrict and everything. This one doesn't have as much unless you intentionally introduce it into your deck with cards like Timeless Pierce Dragon, which does eat into a lot of counterblast, which is also another issue with the deck where it annoyingly use a lot of counterblast. Like Nairos use a lot of soul but is not good at gaining them back. Harri use a lot of counterblast, does have some way of getting them back, but not consistent enough to be able to consistently do it every single turn. And last but not least, it is Pale Moon deck. It needs a setup, just like Night Rose, and that's where I say the mirror part is there. You have to set up your soul, in this case properly, to actually perform really well. And just to add one more point, the deck does have a slight draw issue if you don't play any draw engine in the game, so you do have to run cards like Kun Ram and Force of Law to actually pull it off.
But wait!
But having more cons doesn't mean that it have lesser pros, as this deck does have a lot of good points. It has a lot of filter, which is something that a lot of Pale Moon deck tend to be lacking of. Look here.
Emotional damage!
And not only that, the deck does have a very consistent rearguard pressure thanks to the deck capability of going into 4 to 6 attack depend on your setup on the field. Similar to Nairos, the deck also open for very different style of deck building choices and everything, which makes the deck a lot more fun to build even if the core are more or less the same. And that's Harri. In my honest opinion, the deck has a lot of good things going for, but I got a feeling they are way too scared of Dark State in Premium that they unfortunately just nerfed Harri really hard in Standard. But what do you guys think? Leave down in the comments below, and yeah, that's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, and this is Mac Megane signing out.